Good morning, I'm Frank Powers, and this is Lifestyle Tucson, the program where I speak to our neighbors, the people behind the scenes of our amazing organizations, small businesses, and nonprofits. Our friends are informing you how they serve our community, and they're here to give you updates on future projects. Let's make some musical friends today. Yeah. The best part of hosting Lifestyle Tucson is being on the radio, because I love music. I especially love local music. But where can I discover more? Tucson Musicians Museum serves to perpetuate Tucson's unique musical heritage and culture by recognizing, showcasing, and supporting a chronicled, historical perspective of Tucson area musicians. Tucson Musicians Museum partners with multiple schools, music stores, and music-related academies, and not only introduces but maintains a mentorship program for talented young local musicians. They are striving to provide underserved youth with the best musical instruments for all genres, as well as the highest quality instrumental training available. Today, I'm fortunate enough to speak with Brad Phipps, board member of Tucson Musicians Museum, as well as Liz Walter, the secretary and overall everything else at the Tucson Musicians Museum. Welcome to Lifestyle Tucson.
Thank you very much. How are you doing today, Frank?
I'm super pumped. Obviously now, the joke you made, I try to make it all the time. Brad's not a board member. He's an excited member.
I am, yes.
That's
I am
right.
an excited member. For
and
sure.
I'm excited to talk about how me and Brad met.
Yeah,
right?
actually, and it was quite funny. I'm a Lyft driver and picked up somebody downtown named Frank Powers, and it was Comic-Con, and he was dressed to the hilt. Man, I don't know if you've ever seen him in his outfit, but, you know, he's pretty colorful.
Yeah.
And and then we just talked about it, you know, because I believe that the universe works in mysterious ways. And he's sitting in my back seat. I had to ask him. I said, hey, how do we get on your show? Because I've been listening to it for a while, and I, hear all the good things you're doing for the local community. And I said, this is an opportunity for us to talk about what we do with the Tucson Musicians Museum. And he was very receptive.
It was a funny moment because, again, to get recognized, just usually it's about just being a DJ, but since starting Lifestyle Tucson, because it's broadcast on all the radio stations, you did recognize my voice, and then you said, oh, I listen to Lifestyle Tucson, which I actually didn't expect because I think it's just homework, the show. I try to make it fun. It's like NPR with the sleeves ripped off.
That's right.
But that's the thing. So it was really funny. And you had said you were having a meeting talking about it, and you were just saying, like, how do you get on the show? And I was just quick being like, oh, well, actually, it's only Lyft drivers exclusively that pick me up. That's how they get on. But
wow.
How funny was it that, like, that happened? And then, here's a business card. Let's get you going. Emails happen within a couple of days. And then, boom, here you are. That's so exciting. And that's Tucson. Tucson is just, it's a really easy place to network. I like to call it the baby bear's porridge. It's just right.
Yes, it is. That's awesome.
But that's exciting. So I'm really excited to talk to you about everything that's going on with the Tucson Musicians Museum. So Liz, tell me a little bit about the museum, how it started, and how you got involved.
Well, I saw a 2-line request on Facebook from George saying he needed a secretary. And that was it. So I wrote back and said, I'm interested. What does it take? What do you? He goes, come down to the museum and meet me. So I met him down there, and he told me, and this is a funny story. He told me that it would be a couple hours a month.
Yeah.
And that was, and I said, okay, I can do a couple hours a month because I had just retired and was looking for something to occupy myself, and I've always been interested in music, local music. I'm a native Tucsonan, and I spent many hours listening to local music in the 70s and 80s.
You told me you were even a DJ a moment ago.
Well, I was on the radio, but that's the time I had moved to New Mexico and was working at KWFM in Albuquerque on the campus, but I was the IT person.
Oh, okay.
I was not an on-air person at all, sort of the behind the scenes, making sure all this stuff we're looking at now worked properly.
Oh, so the most important person at the radio
Yes.
station.
Sure.
Not us DJs. What do we do? Pull a string and I just start yakking.
That's funny.
After I moved back here and retired, I just needed something to do. And so I thought, well, I've always loved music. And to me, the most exciting part of music is live music. Mm-hmm. 5 people, 3 people that are together and working together to make a special sound. And it's just the most magical thing. It really is. And the more I can support that, the more I like it. So I told George, okay. Well, and he started calling me, and we became very close over the phone, as 2 or 3 times a day sometimes, and at least 3 or 4 times a week. We would talk for hours. He introduced me to all the programs which you were so kind to talk about. The museum itself. We maintain a physical presence down at TCC. We have the school program, several teachers and little antennas out to the schools to find kids who need us or need a little support. And the mentor program, which needs to be ramped up, I think. It's really important for students, once they learn how to play and find that they love it, but they need a little inspiration or someone to pull them into the world that they're imagining.
Even the best athletes need a coach. That's the
right.
point. Having a mentor teacher helps.
Right. And so we have, amazingly enough, with the museum, a catalog of the greatest musicians in town. And really, they all will volunteer their time for a promising student. There's not one I can think of that would turn that away. And so that's what we would do, is call on to them and say, look, we have a student who really likes banjo and is good at it, but he needs, to address the finer points and just start playing with other people more. So we would find someone from the Bluegrass Association or the Tucson Kitchen Musicians or whoever, and we could find that would be available, not out playing somewhere, and available to help them.
That's
and just
amazing.
work with them.
Well, let's talk about how things got started. So tell me about George. When he's the founder of the whole organization, and it was founded in 2007?
That's correct. He and Susan started the museum, basically started at the 17th Street Market, and then moved to the Rialto Theater. And then from there, it got sponsored, or the people from Rio Nuevo found it. So we've been there ever since, and the city of Tucson and the Rio Nuevo board has been so supportive. They've just, they give us the space and allow us to come in and do things. They give us time at the Leo Rich Theater or the patio or whatever. The staff there is supportive really nicely.
That's really nice. And if you want to go check out everything that we're talking about here, it's at the TCC. They're near the escalators. It's quite a beautiful display. I believe if you're just going to see an event, you can kind of just go check out a lot of this stuff. There's no admission. There's no fee, correct?
Not, no.
Right. You can just go walk around, get a little bit of this local culture, because, again, it's really focusing on all of the local musicians throughout the history of Tucson. And that's such a huge thing, because music, I think, is as big as food here. And we're known for our food. But the music scene is just such a great, great place. And I love seeing all the talent there, seeing familiar faces there. And you do inductees every year. So how does that process go? How do people get involved and get inducted?
The rules for induction are changing. With George's passing, the board has, been questioning how people are coming on. And it was 25 years playing here in town.
Okay.
With a component of sharing with the community. Also, someone who had traveled internationally or was known somewhat internationally had given back to the communities. The way that they were found was mostly from the board, who was, most of them are musicians. Brad will attest, I'm about one of the only non-musicians on the board. They all brought their nominations forward. We received nominations from the community, as we have this year. Fabulous inductees this year, just right out of the blue. They came to us. It's just amazing. And then the board votes on them, and they go through a process where they provide, information and that kind of thing. We have them on our website, so they provide a bio so that we can give the people an understanding about why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just because they're our friends or we like them, which that happens too, but mostly because of the background that they have. And so they can go to the website and find that kind of thing out. There's a whole little database of all the inductees since the beginning. And then we have a party,
Oh, so
an inductee ceremony.
I like to party. Tell me about this.
Every year we have an inductee ceremony. and the players get an opportunity to play a short set, a few songs, and then we present them with a little statuette. We invite the community to come and meet everybody. And it's just really sort of a nice day for the people who are inducted. This year we have a DJ, as we did last year, DJ Papa Ranger,
Nice.
who was on KXCI for 30 years, I think.
Awesome.
And then we also have some corporate people, the two from Ray and Bert from Zoom Records. Now, most people don't know about Zoom Records.
Tell me.
Zoom Records was the first production company ever organized in the state of Arizona.
No kidding.
These two, Ray and Bert, were 17 years old, just out of high school, and they loved music, and so they made this production company. And their first person that they recorded, which of course was in Phoenix, the recording studio was in Phoenix, but they provided all the support and getting everybody there and that kind of thing, was Peter Ronstadt, who used to be our sheriff. And they were real into bebop, and they did a bunch of records in that. They were the first production company in Arizona, and in fact, it's still incorporated today. And they've just put out a new album this last year for some music that they had never released for 60 years.
That's
the
incredible.
first time that's been released. Yeah, the guys are great. They're both in their 80s now, and just lively and happy and wonderful men. They're just great. So they're going to be inducted this year, long time overdue. Also, Travis Edmondson and his nephew, Earl, are both going to be inducted. Those are also posthumous awards that'll be coming in. But Travis passed away the year the TMM was incorporated in 2009.
Okay.
And his family had moved him to Mesa, so he wasn't really here in town. And I think people didn't know that he even had passed. But he was a big star here in Tucson in the 50s and 40s. But because he passed those first, was ill and passed the first years of the TMM, I think he was just passed by. So we're going to pick him up this year again.
Oh, that's excellent. And here's what's funny. I was looking on the website, reading some of the bios, seeing who I recognized. David Slutz is on there, my man. Right. But you can go to TucsonMusiciansMuseum.org, and you can nominate someone there yourself. So if you know a local musician or someone, go nominate them, because you never know if your nomination might be one of 100 that gets them as a first ballot entry into this museum, which is amazing. Let's talk about being a board member there, Brad. When did you get involved?
I actually met George in, I believe it was their 10-year anniversary. I'm a musician. I've been playing music here for 30 years, and I also do video production. And all of a sudden I saw this post on social media for the 10-year anniversary of the Tucson Musicians Museum. And the first thing I thought was like, there's a Tucson Musicians Museum?
Right.
And so I got a hold of George and, just asked, hey, would it be okay if I come down and film the event, and see what you're all about? And so I filmed that first event, and then me and George kind of, became friends. I asked him if they had any metal, because I play metal music, and he said, no, we've just never had anybody in that community to be able to tell us who we're supposed to nominate. So I kind of became that person, because I've been here for a long time, and George helped to get our first metal musicians inducted into the Hall of Fame a few years ago. And that's kind of how I met him. And then we used to talk back and forth about different things, and musicians in town. And at that time, like Liz said, it was like the criteria for coming into the museum was, to me, I'm just speaking for me, but I thought it was a little steep, because for metal musicians here in town, metal has never really gotten the respect that blues and jazz and all of these other arts they get. We're
weird.
Kind of the
To me, because I live in metal, that is my world. So you don't realize oh no, the mainstream, metal is not as mainstream as you would think.
Yeah, you know. Well, and there's a lot of I've known the community to be just very proactive in helping people. I mean, we would do things for cancer, for helping a community member out for some reason or other. Just recently, for the Tucson Metal Society, we had a young lady that's been a fan of music here forever, and her trailer burned down on Mother's Day.
Oh, geez.
And so we got together and we raised $1,800 for her to help get into a new place. But it's things like that. They go unnoticed by the media. We don't put out a big press release. We're not savvy like that. We're just musicians, and this is what we do. And so I looked at it as an opportunity for us to be able to go, how do we also bring in people like that maybe they haven't traveled the world, but they've been playing here for 25, 30 years, and they have an influence, and they're inspirational to other musicians. And so, when George passed and we started discussing, what are some of the criteria to get into the musicians, that's one of the things that I kind of brought up. I think we're still working on that, to figure out the particulars of how you become, get involved with what we're doing and how we get nominated, especially if there's no documentation, much, what I mean, for a lot of these local bands that have been just working hard and struggling out there, and being able to give them a little bit of a platform and say, hey, look, there's some inspiration in the museum. There's some ways you can get involved. Trying to, when they were telling me about their program for getting instruments to kids, that really piqued my interest as well, because I know there's a lot of people, a lot of young kids out there that maybe they don't have an opportunity to be able to, know how to get into a rock or a metal band, or they don't have the money to get into an instrument. And that's where the museum kind of,
With a lot of groups I talk to, that's often the thing that you talk about, is that you don't want to have, poverty level or anything, income level, affect your ability to learn, to create, to explore, and to grow as a kid.
Yep.
You want to get them some free instruments so that, they're not playing the recorder forever.
That's for sure.
Good Lord. So
yes,
all those famous recordists that we know.
But they go unrecognized for some reason.
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to touch on this. Tell me about the Tucson Metal Society, because you got that going on a little bit. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, the thing is with the museum, it's really a group of people that all represent, like I'm representing the Metal Society, and there's, like Oscar, he represents a little bit more of the, what is Oscar? I mean, I don't exactly know, but it's more like the mariachis and
the pop country western.
Yeah,
Mexican.
so the board is kind of made up of these individuals that represent these different areas, and I was actually down at the museum, and that's where I came up with the idea for the Tucson Metal Society. I was looking around and I'm seeing the Blues Society, Jazz Society, and then I was like, hey, wait, is there a metal society? And I went and looked, and I couldn't find one anywhere. And I'm starting to think, I'm like, this is be a good idea, because I'm getting older as a musician. And when you get older, you want to try to give back. And even though I may not have any kind of real fame, I've been there and done that. I've played with the big acts. I've been working really hard at this my whole life. So there's a lot of things that I feel that as a musician, I can kind of help direct or mentor, younger musicians that are, maybe have a question about, hey, how do I get on a gig playing at the Rialto for an opening, a big act, and just help to guide them through that. And at the same time, be able to recognize those that have been doing it for a while and that do have recognition, and they are an inspiration to a lot of the young musicians here. So that's kind of,
we got to get Lenny Mental into the Tucson Musicians Museum and the besmirchers. Come on.
No, he's on the list. Yeah, as we go through he's definitely on the list. That guy has been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him not necessarily like on a personal level, but back in the day, his sister and her husband at the time owned a tattoo shop here in town. So I met him, and I've never really, I've heard the Besmirchers, but I've never seen them live. I just never get a chance to. I bet. Yeah,
it's terrifying. Some of the places I've seen them live at, they don't exist anymore. So
I get
things like that. But they're great, and I love it. So you talk about some of these programs, getting these instruments to kids, getting them some education, some mentorship, even all of that. Tell me some more of some of these programs and some of the goals that you have for the coming year, 2024, 2025. How much do you want to grow?
Well, I would like to see us be able to have an in-school program with, on a regular basis. We've talked to several of the teachers and had some pilot programs, having someone come into the school, and the kids just love it, of course. But if we could have it on a regular basis, where the school is expecting those people to show up and have it part of the curriculum in the classroom, and hopefully extend outside the classroom, the Arizona Commission on the Arts has a grant program coming up this spring. Well, they ran it last time, but I think they'll have it again this year. Is for outside of the school system. What are you providing to the kids outside? Which in a lot of cases, because musicians are not as structured as the school system might want them to be.
Yeah, well.
It might be a little better for them and for the kids to do that kind of thing. I would like to see also that we have a regular pipeline from not only the TUSD, which we're working on, but the charter schools and the other schools in the area, some kind of regular pipeline where they can get us the information that, hey, I have 3 kids who would like to be able to practice at home, and they definitely have the discipline and the commitment to go ahead and do that, so that we can hear about them regularly. Right now it's sort of hit and miss. We hear about someone sort of off or, comes around the corner, but we really need to tighten that up and make our pipeline into the museum a little bit stronger so that we can be sure to get that. In 2021, we provided over $7,000
Really?
to one school only for guitars. This teacher, God bless her, was teaching a music class with no instruments, none.
Oh.
And it has to be the most difficult thing in the world to try to get people to understand what music is and how to play it without an instrument. So we got her. We didn't provide the money, but we were the pass-through for this other organization, and they gave us the money. And the Chicago store gave us a really nice deal on guitars, and they were shipped directly to the school from the store. And she opened the boxes, and now the kids actually have guitars that they can learn how to play on.
That's incredible.
That's
such
incredible.
a big deal. That's a big deal. So I talk about on this show a lot, and again, Brad's a good example of it, is when it comes to volunteering, and it sounds like that's the thing, that this place needs some more volunteers, because some people, they can donate money. They can donate money for that, but other people, they can donate time.
Right.
And if you love music and being a musician and doing that, and then maybe want to help kids, looking for opportunities to find people doing this, go volunteer and get involved with the Tucson Musicians Museum. How can people get involved with your organization?
Well, they can write to us at info@tucsonmusicianmuseum.org and just say that they would like to participate and maybe give an idea about what they would like to do. Not everybody wants to be on the board. Some people just want to do events. Some people have office skills. I personally could use a person who knows how to do database work.
Yeah, this is what I mean. This is the real call.
And, someone who is interested in doing cold calling. What I'd like to do is have someone come in and call all the members or all the inductees and update our database with contact information. But that's a cold call into them.
To a degree, yeah.
Well, George God love him, George was not the best on organizational things.
Yeah, but that's
He's a musician.
That's artists. That's the way it is.
So a lot of the inductees, we don't have really good information like email or home addresses where I can send snail mail or anything to them. I just have barely a phone number, perhaps, for some. And I don't even know if those phone numbers are still good. So we need someone to do that. I would be interested in talking to all the old musicians in town and finding them and updating our database. We need a webmaster. I've been doing the web stuff.
Well, you've done an okay job. I'll tell you that much. Your website's pretty nice.
Thank you. And I'll probably continue to do it until we can find someone who's dedicated.
Yeah.
We had a young man that was doing it, but he has his own business, and it has exploded on him.
That's what happens.
And he just doesn't have the time to do it much anymore. He's sort of my back end guy. When I need him, he's there, but
yeah,
he's not really a design person.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is the point of what we're doing here today, is we're going to try to get you that help, because as an organization that obviously is easy to staff People just got to know about it.
Yep.
There are so many people and organizations that I meet constantly. They're overstaffed with volunteers. You can find volunteers, but people got to know where to go. The fact that, what you were saying, where you didn't even know this existed.
Exactly.
And then you went down there for their anniversary and then even got inspired to start your own, and it's a part of it. And then that's just going to grow. And I always talk about this thing. We all have creative ideas, right? You can't do them all at the same time. Sometimes, though, you can plant a seed, and then you got that idea over there and another project over here and another project there. And then all these things, they don't all blossom at the same time. It's time to till the soil at different times. So what you've got going on with even the Metal Society, you never know if in a decade, like, you have a dedicated building toward it. But it's going to start as an idea that you slowly keep adding water to, letting it grow, and doing that with it. And really, that's just what's working. It's what's worked for this organization, and it's what's working for everything when it comes to music in Tucson. We're a great community. And that's what is really going to help, is that getting the community to know about this organization, that, again, you're not exactly in some hovel, you're in the TCC, right?
Yep.
Get involved with this great group and really help them shine a spotlight on all the great talent that's been here in the old Pueblo over the years, so that it gives inspiration to the young up-and-comers that we're trying to inspire to know that, you know what, they're going to be in that museum one day.
We are a community member of the Arizona Historical Society as well, because we do have, as you mentioned in your intro, a historical component. I'm interested in having someone who would like to investigate the indigenous history of music in this area. We have several different inductees that are Native American, but there's so much going on there that has been sort of left behind, just as the metal groups were. And the other part is I'd like to have someone that's interested in musicology, which is a category at the university. They actually have a professor of musicology there. And if we could get someone, a graduate student or a student who's interested in that, to develop there's several different ideas that I have where that could go. And I think those are two areas which might interest people as well, besides just the active, music itself.
Yeah, well, that sounds like you. That's a call to action, that you've got to answer that call. So, because today we made friends with Brad Phipps, board member of the Tucson Musicians Museum, as well as Liz Walter, the secretary, and overall everything going on over there, whose goal is to transform the lives of underprivileged and at-risk youth by offering fantastic music programs to help them improve their possibility of achieving a full and prosperous future. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, really.
This was Lifestyle Tucson. Bing bong bing, time for a recap. What a great conversation. Yes, that's how you get on Lifestyle Tucson. You have to accidentally pick me up on a lift. But yeah, what a great conversation. There's nothing like local music to really unite Tucson, and that's what the Tucson Musicians Museum has really done, just paying attention to a lot of the history in our region when it comes to local music. You can find out more information by just visiting the Tucson Musicians Museum at 260 South Church Avenue here in Tucson at 85701, because that's the TCC. So maybe go check out the Tucson Roadrunners or go to a concert, and while you're there, check out the Tucson Musicians Museum. Maybe you want to volunteer or join. You can also email them info@TucsonMusiciansMuseum.org. Remember, you can go nominate someone, and I think we should do our best to, in fact, nominate Lenny Mental. That's right, Lenny Mental, punk rock legend here of Tucson, in the Besmirchers. He's amazing. I call him the fifth Beatle. Man could be mayor. All right, so do your part and go elect a local musician and nominate them for the Tucson Musicians Museum, and let's get the movement happening for Lenny Mental of the Besmirchers. So I want to thank our new friends at the Tucson Musicians Museum for joining me today. You've been listening to Lifestyle Tucson. If you're a nonprofit that would like to be on the show, email lifestyletucson@gmail.com. For more information about this program or to listen to something you may have missed, go to the Sunday Mornings page on klpx.com, kfma.com, mixfm.com, or espntucson.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and Audible, or wherever fine podcasts are rocking around the Christmas tree. Follow on Facebook, especially YouTube and Instagram at Lifestyle Tucson, because I'm your BFF Frank Powers, and toot toot Tucson. I love you the most.